There is a big shift happening in the medical industry with this pandemic, like these mRNA vaccines being rushed through human clinical trials right now. These mRNA technology-based vaccines are faster than conventional egg and cell culture-based approaches, and since the dose required is so small, they're talking like 1 microgram per dose, they say they can get 5 million human doses per liter. It's faster and it's cheaper.
So there are several advantages that this mRNA platform presents over other gene therapy platforms. One is the rapid, cost-effective mass production. It's very easy to generate large quantities of RNA in vitro in a test tube. The second is this platform is non-infectious. This makes it safe for any immunocompromised patients that may have any adverse events from traditional vaccines or live attenuated vaccines. Another advantage is this is not an integrating platform. The mRNA can't integrate into the host genome into an oncogenic site and lead to any unintended consequences. And also, there's no immunological memory against the mRNA, so we can have repeated vaccination with the same platform into an individual.
They've been at this for years, developing mRNA vaccine strategies for influenza, rabies, quite a few types of cancer, HIV, Zika, and it's not just for humans, because Bayer's got them going for veterinary vaccines too.
2000, we had CureVac. 20 years on, this is what the landscape of the mRNA vaccine space looks like. It's crowded. We've got biotech companies like CureVac, Moderna, and BioNTech, and they're partnering with big pharma entities in multiple therapeutic areas.
They're produced using a generic manufacturing platform utilizing completely synthetic methods. mRNA vaccines are being developed for a broad range of targets. The synthetic production methods for their manufacture, combined with the modern tools of bioinformatics and synthetic biology, enabled these vaccines to be produced rapidly from an electronic gene sequence.
We're going to basically completely redefine the health and medicine. Health and medicine has not been an information technology up until just recently.
If you're pro-vaccine, you should really consider that what they're doing here is not your normal vaccine. It's a whole other thing.
This is the key component that's driven pharma and biotech to explore this. RNA is made in a cell-free process. It's made enzymatically. So its production system is very unlike anything that's used commercially today. And so in the combination with an effective delivery system and synthetic production of RNA, you have what's known as a disruptive technology.
And the mRNA technologies are going to require only a small automated footprint with plans for eventual production right at hospitals. The Bill Gates-backed Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovations and the Bill Gates-backed CureVac announced a partnership back in February 2019 to advance the RNA printer, a disruptive, transportable mRNA vaccine manufacturing platform that can rapidly combat multiple diseases. The RNA printer is intended for both the hospital pharmacy setting catering to production of personalized medicines and fast on-site delivery to outbreak regions. They're saying it will be able to produce several grams of lipid nanoparticle formulated mRNA, enough to produce more than 100,000 doses within just a few weeks. The idea is vaccines on demand. A pathogen is isolated in the field, the genome is sequenced, the gene sequence for the antigen is electronically transferred to the production facility, like the RNA printer, and the vaccine is produced and released within a few weeks of detection.
So you're in a position where you can build a generic manufacturing platform. You synthesize your RNA, you have a microfluidic mixing technology to form your LNPs, and then a downstream process to get it ready for your drug product and your fill finish. Now, obviously, RNA fill finish, the final format, the stability at scale needs to be worked out. But that process is generic. It's the same for all three of those RNA platforms. And I think I'll let Lloyd comment. You could probably use the same platform to produce therapeutics as well.
Yeah, so, definitely. So a facility or a plant that can be repurposed and used, especially during these kind of outbreaks or pandemics, where your platform's in place, your materials are in place, you just need that missing component or the tweak to the formulation or the tweak to the payload, and you're ready to go.
Oh, and on this mRNA topic, there were those of you who, until we were mandated to stay away from each other, you were out there standing shoulder to shoulder, demanding an end to cruelty toward animals. You should know, these mRNA vaccines, the gene therapies, there's a whole lot of little creatures that are paying for this grand experiment with their lives. Mice that are often genetically engineered, ferrets, pigs, rabbits, rhesus macaques, cotton rats, humans. Can you really support this experiment? As Bill Gates said, if we can teach the body to create its own natural defenses, we can revolutionize the way we treat and prevent diseases. Technologies like mRNA give us confidence to place big bets for the future. It's no exaggeration to say that these people are gambling with your lives and those of your loved ones. Damn the cost and the suffering. And people demand more testing, better testing. Don't worry, because it's coming. Next generation sequencing is on its way, and it should help monitor the progress of the experimental therapies.
The capacity should go up in the near term, both in terms of numbers of tests that can be performed as we bring online more efficient versions of doing lab tests, like with next generation sequencing. Illumina, Thermo Fisher, other companies are working and bringing products to the market at large scale in the weeks ahead in those areas. We're going to get better at doing tests that are easier to perform, that can be performed just under supervision by a provider, even over the internet, and that can be self-administered, like spit tests, instead of having to do the deep nasal swab. So Rutgers, as Chairman Pallone knows, has developed a test in this area. LabCorp is starting to distribute a home-based test. Those kind of steps will help. I think the challenge is going to be, since we don't have as many tests as we'd really like to have, can we work hard to get the tests to where they're most needed? And the CDC has recommended people who have symptoms that could be COVID-19, so you can detect early and not have people have to, wait and stay at home, and so they're, not going into their job at a nursing home or a healthcare facility or the like, where they might expose someone who's at risk. We can do testing to help get a better handle on people with symptoms, and we can also do testing in these high-risk settings. We talked about it in nursing homes and meatpacking plants and other areas for people who aren't symptomatic, to do surveillance about whether there is a chance of an outbreak. And I think those kinds of steps would enable us to go a lot further, get a lot of bang for the buck with the tests that are coming over the coming weeks. So we're not there yet. But I think we can get there in a matter of weeks to give people a lot more confidence that we can keep the current level of cases under control, if not get it back on a reproductive rate of the virus of less than 1 in the communities where we do have ongoing outbreaks. We just add that this is very important to do, as you said, before we get to the fall. In the fall, there's not only a higher risk of another wave for COVID-19 based on what we've seen in past pandemics and what we expect based on people getting to closer quarters and the cooler weather. But as you said, influenza outbreak is going to mean, which always comes seasonally, is going to mean the need for more testing and more differentiation to make sure that we're not going to see a recurrence in deaths. But I think those are all very doable steps in the coming weeks with the kind of support that we've talked about in this hearing.
This is the universal test that's often been spoken of, but they need the data so that they can see if it'll even work. According to the Senior Vice President and Chief Medical Officer of Illumina, they are proud to provide technology and support to track transmission, conduct surveillance, develop therapies and vaccines, and ensure long-term global safety and security with their next-generation sequencing on the front lines in the fight against this coronavirus. Illumina, so generously, donated $1.4 million worth of their sequencing systems to Africa. They say that this donation enables the Africa CDC to deeply understand the circulating virus throughout the continent, providing equitable access to their important technology. The African Center of Excellence for Genomics of Infectious Diseases, together with other African institutions, has been mandated by the Africa CDC to contribute to the effort of sequencing coronavirus genomes across the continent to track the spread of the virus and its mutations. They say it is critical to provide access to next-generation sequencing technology throughout the world to drive a global response. Notice this, for research only, not for use in diagnostic procedures. It's happening in Israel, where they say this is a rare opportunity to thoroughly and consistently document clinical findings of thousands of patients and sequence their whole genome. Amazon Web Services is contributing $250,000 worth of cloud computing credits to that effort. Illumina is also a part of a force to promote the development and standardization of next-generation sequencing-based cancer therapies in China. This is the new medicine.
The whole thing is going to change. I'm sure you believe in, and everybody in this room will sure know, that the health sector won't be the same, in the next 3 to 4 years. It's going to be completely different.
Microsoft and Adaptive Biotechnologies launched their immune race. They announced in March that they would expand their existing partnership to use machine learning to map the immune system to many different diseases, including infectious diseases, autoimmune diseases, and cancer, at scale to study COVID-19. And they've scared people into begging for this. So many will step right up to be willing to be a part of the machine. Literally, you'll get your digital twin. The Chan Zuckerberg BioHub, teamed up with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, helped to bring us ID-Seq, a cloud-based open-source bioinformatics pipeline for metagenomic sequencing. Having access to so much data could help them to develop their gene therapies for the rare diseases, the mutations, that they've been working to knock out. They need the data. Your swab, or blood, or saliva. They need you to join their experiment and contribute your code to build out their data set and help them to tune it for their purposes. So they'll tweak our systems with their modifications, the new medicine, and track us, because they say that we should be testing regular and often. Traumatized people that are the victims of terrorism at the hands of the weaponized corporate media and their governments are practically begging for this digital takeover in all areas of our lives. They knew that most would respond this way. There's been much study into how we behave and methods to manipulate us. And they've got us all staring at our devices. We're seeing the world through their lens. They're transforming our world, and so many people seem incapable to notice how it's all happening according to their publicly available plans. The technology giants and their tentacles went huge in this. Rapidly, most of our lives are being put under the control of the machine. And the governments of the world and the philanthropists, they're all backing them.
I just put another point in there. This is immense business potential. If we invest in this today, the market for these types of vaccines is in the hundreds of billions of dollars per year down the line. So you're creating good health, you're protecting people, and you can make a lot of money.
What do you think about this direction that we're heading? Are you excited to add to your digital twin and to offer your body up to help perfect their molecular level therapy techniques? Others need to be told about all of this, and I need your help with that. Please consider sharing this information anywhere and any way that you can. The sources are linked below in the description. Thank you for listening.